ever seen him play Hearthstone. But here, I mean, now he's in the flesh. He's competing on stage, top 8 of an open bracket.
We weren't really sure he was more than a myth.
He was the mysterious challenger.
Oh, and this is a matchup we haven't seen. Just Patron Mirror.
Yeah, Whirlwind from Talion is a big indicator for that one as well. And
gotta dodge that concede button.
you know, a lot of the Patron Mirror since the Warsong Commander change, you know, prior to the Warsong Commander change, the first player to make patrons, I felt like was at a disadvantage. Now it feels like the first player to burp out a bunch of patrons, usually at a distinct advantage.
Yeah, I mean, so the thing about the patron decks, they've got a lot of ways to make more patrons. Not really many ways to kill patrons, because that would be kind of anti-synergy. So when you run into the same deck, a lot of your cards are dead if your opponent has patrons.
Yeah.
Not really much to do in that regard. You'll see players sometimes try and figure out a way that like 6 whirlwind effects will clear patrons. It doesn't work. That's all I've learned.
Harrison Jones.
Wow, Harrison Jones is
certainly a card that can give you an edge in this matchup.
Big tech card, and it's something that is specifically going to do really well in this top 8. I mean, there's a lot of weapon classes. 17 out of 24 of the classes in total have weapons.
It's a big deal. A couple of those weapons are doom hammers.
Yeah.
Some major swings that you can be looking out for. Now, this is one I'm always very curious about, is to see whether or not players favor the armor up or just the pass. Because if you commit to the no armor up, you're losing a lot of long-term life that way for the effect of activating Battle Rage. And you can see Neobility's going to think about that
I don't think armor matters much in this matchup. I think it's just like you talked about. You go for patrons, and once you get them, you win.
So, looks like a little bit of an admin issue. Looks like it's cleared up very easily. So,
I mean, very rarely do you get to the point where you're dying to non-patron cards.
Yeah.
It's usually, it'd have to be a very awkward draw for both players for it to just be a slugfest of non-patron minions.
Set Fireworks go. Second Battle Rage looks a little bit rough. See, but this is kind of where the point where 4 life to draw cards a lot. I mean, that's more than life tap.
Yeah, I'm committed.
We'll see if Neobility is as well. I mean, there's no other play this. I mean, I guess he could Whirlwind, but that'd just be ridiculous.
Yeah, I just don't think you need life.
He just stares him down in Whirlwinds. Like, this guy's crazy. Finley's a good draw. I'll tell you what, the armor in this matchup, it doesn't matter too much. I mean, sometimes those few extra points of life
we
matter.
just saw that.
But the Finley can really change the dynamic. If you pick up Fire Blast, that means you can propagate your patrons with just 2 mana and not an expenditure of a card. If you pick up Life Tap, you have a lot of card draw that can go into it.
Yeah. Lesser heal also not that terrible when you can use it on minions.
Yeah. Just gonna go with Acolyte.
Probably don't want any Silverhand recruits in this game.
Second patron picked up. I mean, you're hard committed at this point. He's already paid 4 life. What's 6? He's a brave man.
Maybe he's just disconnected.
You ask him after the game, he's like, oh crap, I forgot to armor up.
And at the end of this game, if he loses, he just dies, and everyone's like, that 6 life would have saved him.
You know what's funny is every single time that I have cast a match where players have foregone the armor, it has been the difference between winning and losing. Every single time so far.
I think it used to be pretty terrible, but in this matchup, I'm definitely okay with not armoring.
Yeah, it does get Fire Blast.
Now, the real question is, do you not attack?
I mean, if your opponent's not going to armor up,
do you not attack?
I think you don't. Now, Talion says, if you're going to pay the life, I'm going to deal you the damage.
Yeah. At the end of the day, this does kind of, it's not going to matter because Harrison comes out.
Cards. That's Brutes. Bloodacre and Execute join the party.
Yeah, that's the best Harrison you get in this matchup now because that's the only weapon they really run.
Both players got some good fighting hands here. Talion a little bit stronger on board right now, I think.
Yeah, now if you just go for 2 patrons, you definitely run the risk of just Execute War Axe being the answer. And when your opponent's going to be going into 10 cards, I don't think you feel safe with just 2 patrons. I think you're really looking to get 4 and lock him out. But if you wait too long, what if your opponent makes 4? and then you have no counterplay. So there's a big struggle here of, do you just go for it now?
Execute not looking too bad here. We'll pick up an extra card. We'll allow him to get the Bloodhoof Brave on board. Lots of connect for 4 damage.
I wonder if you go in with the Finley, because you can realistically get 2 draws off that Acolyte.
But eyeing that Battle Rage as well. You know, there's a fine balance between drawing too many cards as well.
Ping yourself Battle Rage. It's better than Life Tap.
And there's the Bloodhoof Brave. That card has been surprisingly good.
Yeah, it's
been cast.
It's going to threaten to kill patrons. So I don't think we're just going to see a patron pop off this turn.
I mean, I don't see how that's really possible right now. You have to invest so many resources and be vulnerable on board.
It'd be bad.
I mean, the Ravaging Ghoul really changing the way that this matchup works, I think, a bit. You know, the first player to get on board with just a couple of these reasonable threats.
The other thing is, in this matchup, Deathbite wasn't that great. I mean, if you go Deathbite on 4 and a Patron Enrage on 5, yeah.
Sure.
But past that, the Whirlwind effect is usually synergistic for your opponent's minions.
A Battle Rage for 1. That's an expensive Battle Rage.
This is what that 6 life got us.
I mean, looks like Blood Ichor and Execute. So, not a big surprise there. Armor up. Start making up for that lost life. This is looking like a great turn for Talion here. He can clean up this ooze, Patron Enrage, and Fire Blast it.
Yeah. Would you make...
just saw an Execute.
Would you make 2 3/3 patrons, or you could make a 5/2, a 3/2, and a 3/3, or you could make a 5/1 and 2 3/3s.
In most matchups, I think making a 1 health one and 2 healthier ones with the 3/3s is better.
Yeah.
But in this matchup in particular, I think it's better to have 2 health minions.
I don't know if I agree.
Just because of the multiple
Because
whirlwinds?
then Execute plus War Axe. I don't know.
He hasn't seen a War Axe thus far. I mean, I think...
Yeah, and you already saw 1 Execute.
Yeah.
I definitely...
I like Frolic Berserker
slow it down.
That's almost certainly...
This is where, you know, Deathbite being absent is going to be impactful.
Grom gets picked up. Damage mounting. I mean, the loss of Deathbite means you can't contest Frolic Berserker as well either. Which is a big deal in this matchup. That card, this is a priority threat. This card has to die.
Well, so he's going to execute it and going to be the first player to patron. And I mean, is this it? Is this enough?
It's looking pretty good.
It's looking real good. Finley's going to be able to clean up the weakest of them.
And welcome to the patron matchup.
Well, you've seen both execute, so maybe just Grom one. But then, I mean, the others are going to propagate.
I mean, I'm looking like Ravaging Ghoul, a second Whirlwind, Battle Rage potential. There's so many things. Like, if you're going to use the Grom here, you might actually attack the 3/2 to prevent Battle Rage from being as big of a deal.
Nah. But, yeah, I'm looking at it, and whatever Talion does, Neobility's got the reload with the Ravaging Ghoul. He's got the reload with cards from Battle Rage, and I don't think he needs an execute to make it through this game. He's just going to coast off these patrons.
Let the pain speak to me.
Acolyte Enrage won't be traded off into a patron.
Yeah, I think he views this as he needs to draw Fiery War Axe #2 right here and go clear off 3 patrons, go. I don't know if that would have been good enough even, but...
Just going to slam.
He could ping his own Acolyte, but...
Ping his own Acolyte, it's no longer contesting a Whirlwind effect, so...
Well, if there's a Whirlwind effect...
there might be 2 of them. And a Fiery War Axe.
Yeah, I think you just axe this off.
I think it's lights out.
Yep, play a Ravaging Ghoul, maybe you Battle Rage, maybe you Armor. think it's pretty much smooth sailing here for Neobility.
Fire War Axe, Acolyte, Ravage Ghoul, pick up a card, make 2 extra patrons, attack for 6. It's an okay turn.
Yeah.
The Ravage Ghoul
Alright.
kind of simulates a patron too. It's just a 3/3.
Yeah. It's a sterile patron.
Yeah, there's just no answers here. I mean, this is part of the weakness of this deck too. Is in overwhelming positions from your opponent's board, there is no recovery. There's no board sweeps in here.
Yeah. I mean, we even saw back in the major patron meta, players were starting to include a copy of Brawl just for the mirror, but it really dilutes your deck in most matchups.
I mean, not even like enough whirlwind effects to even consider clearing patrons that way.
You know why I think Neobility won? He has golden patrons.
Could be a factor. Talion gonna fight back as hard as he can.
It's a hard fight.
It's an extremely hard fight. There's that second battle rage. Maybe all that life was worth it.
You know, I'm not saying I told you. So now you can't say it's been relevant in every game you've casted.
Can no longer say that. It's a sad day for Hearthstone.
You know what I can say? It's never been relevant in games I've casted. Screw armoring up, just pass.
Everyone, get in here!
Do you remember that
Even
that
that guy's
game?
kind of trying to act like a patron. He's like, me.
Remember that game where Zalay acted like he DC'd against Life Coach?
No, I don't remember that.
Oh, it was in like the Cursed Trials. I think he didn't want to armor up, so he roped out the turn.
I don't remember that at
On
all.
ladder, I think that's kind of a good strategy.
Just starts attacking. That's when you include the 2 copies of Brawl in your patron build.
Yeah, you bait him into it. The DC warrior.
Yeah, this is kind of like the lion eating the gazelle point of this matchup. I mean, we've seen the game. It was player 1 patron, player 2 lose.
No, man, there's tons of counterplay. Yeah, I mean, this is just kind of an unfortunate reality of how when these 2 very good builds go up against the exact same good build, the way they interact is weird.
Yes.
So, I mean, you talk about non-interactivity, this is a matchup where it's going to happen. But of course, that's why Patron is so good, is a lot of decks, especially after Standard, can't interact with what Patron is doing.
Everyone, get in here!
Just one final hurrah for the little slime.
He's got a little shield. I'm surprised he doesn't have taunt.
Everyone,
I guess he's going for the whirlwind.
You know, Whirlwind's a great draw right here, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe this is a chance of a recovery.
You know? Good on him for spotting it.
Wow, this would be a disastrous time to disconnect.
Yeah.
Yep, looks like we have a little bit of DC. We'll get admin working on this as quickly as we can.
It's not quite lethal. There'd be 13 swinging in.
Yeah, so we'll get an official admin ruling here as quickly as we can. I mean, what a good spot from him at the end, though.
Yeah.
I mean, he cleared up all but 1 patron.
Well, 1 would spawn as well.
Yeah, so he has the 3/3 patron. He can interrage off the 3/1 and have a 3/3.
Oh, he had
just a
interrage
3/3
too,
patron on
yeah.
board, yeah. So it's honestly, it was kind of an even board state from that point.
Was there anything on Talion's board? There would have been the 3/3.
Yeah, and the 2/2.
No, the 2/2.
Oh, the
was
slime
sad.
died. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of a weird spot, honestly. We'll see what's going to happen shortly, but I mean, that's really what the matchup boils down to: is first patron, big advantage, second player needing to respond. But a good spot from Talion. 2 to scalp. Looks like we're back into the game. Well, and this board state happened.
Yeah, this is kind of what I was looking at is, are you really, like, so basically what happens here, your opponent goes frothing, whirlwind, trade, go.
Yeah.
And yeah, you cleared the board, but if it's not a full clear in this matchup, it's not much of a clear. And we do see an interesting tech, though, out of Talion's deck. It's the Black Knight.
The reload from Neobility, too strong afterwards. That's another part of this, too, though, is if you manage to clear the patrons, your opponent has been getting such good value from propagating the patrons that once you manage to kill everything, you've expended a lot of your resources and usually taken your whole turn, which gives the reload back to the player who had patrons, and Neobility, 2 Frothing Berserkers back behind, as well as the Ravaging Ghoul, just able to make such good use of the fact that he's the one taking initiative in the game at that point. So even despite the full board clear, I mean, very well fought from Talion, honestly, but just not enough in the end.
Yep. You never know. Maybe your opponent's hand is just 7 wisps and you win.
Could be 4 wisps in a divine favor. Only if you're playing wild,
It
though.
could be 2 wisp, 2 dark whispers, and 2 wisps of the old gods.
Yep. Warrior in the books for Neobility at this point. So he's got Shaman and Warlock left to work with versus the Patron, Shaman, and Mage from Talion at this point.
And we did get an update on their Hearthstone Championship Tour points. You could see a much more accurate reflection of how good these guys are. 19 points for Talion, 16 for Neobility, and they're going to be picking up more this weekend. Definitely look out for these guys at the Americas preliminaries coming up.
I hope I play him round 1.
Same.
Just get it over with. Enjoy the rest of my weekend.
No, I'm going to win.
Speak for yourself.
At least a round.
You just get matched at Talion again, and you're like, oh, come on!
Yeah, sometimes you got to 0-2.
It's 0-1 this time around.
No, prelims are still double.
You sure?
Yeah, championship is single.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we'll find out what they're going with in game number 2 here as we get underway. He's going to run it back with Patron.
We're going to see. Now, we haven't seen either of these players' builds prior to today. I mean, Patron is a pretty expected build, but we've seen interesting tech from Talion. We see Gnomish now. He also had Black Knight that last game. I mean, I'll be honest, we haven't seen many huge taunts. I mean, Druid just floundered.
Yeah.
Worst performing class of the weekend, and that was really where I think you'd expect big taunts to come in. But it's going to be interesting to see the Shaman build from Neobility. One of the new cards already seen, Eternal Sentinel, kind of taking Lava Shock's place as a 3/2 body.
You know what's funny is in the last match we saw, if Dark Gammon wouldn't have had Lava Shock and would have had Eternal Sentinel instead, he actually would have lost that game.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy to think about. I mean, how often do you want to put a 2-mana, 2-damage card? Like, we don't play Arcane Shot Hunter.
I mean, I hated Lava Shock.
I
but now the Crackle's gone.
Maybe you have to. I'm a big fan of Stormcrack, honestly. I've been having some good performances with that card.
Yeah, well, there's Lava Shock, too. So, Neobility hates Overload. He doesn't want it at all. But he does want it in his deck.
It's the nature of the beast when you're playing Shaman. Pretty decent starting hand for Talion.
Yeah.
Slew of answers. We'll see if he's in the same boat as the non-armor up club, which I think he is.
And are we going to see Totem turn 2?
I think you're going to see Eternal Sentinel.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know, though. I mean, Neobility's been so patient with the way that he's played that I don't think Totem's off the menu for him. In fact, I think he's looking for reasons to Totem in a lot of his spots. Yeah, that's probably a reason to not Totem.
Yeah.
You can see him. I mean, he's already going to think about it. Like, what does Fiery War Axe mean for me here? You got to go for it. I mean, if this succeeds, you are in a great position.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to give a Shaman player a Tunnel Trog and go, nah, I'll just Totem.
I'm not going to Totem.
Nobody's going to Totem, dude.
I would draw 1 less card a game if it meant that I could always draw Tunnel Trog.
Yeah, probably.
So good.
It just becomes Succubus.
Elemental Destruction in this build. Very interesting.
That's a card we haven't seen, and it's a card that in this matchup
It's pretty darn good.
you can get into kind of like a grind out plan.
Honestly, something that's really interesting with that card too is Elemental Destruction into Eternal Sentinel gives you board presence. Like with the Lava Shock, it did nothing afterwards.
Literally nothing, yeah.
Just dealt 2 damage. With the 3/2 on board, it contests a future threat potentially and also threatens damage. And that's a big include into a Shaman build.
And I don't know if Talion knows that's in there. And it's a card we haven't seen all weekend. And we've talked about it every time someone's in a spot where it's like, they're probably going to lose. We think, well, it could have Elemental Destruction. And it's kind of a joke, but...
It's no joke here.
No joke here. But yeah, you can kind of see why he has both Eternal Sentinel and Lava Shock. Very heavy overload build, Elemental Destruction, Ancestral Knowledge.
Yeah, it just makes sense to have these utility cards to make sure that you can continue to have clean curves.
I really didn't like this build back in, before Standard rolled around, but I can kind of see the merits of it now. There's no Crackle, which we keep touching on, but it makes the all-face strategy just that much weaker.
Yeah.
That card was huge.
But over the course of a long game, the drawing cards is important. I mean, prior I had cut Ancestral Knowledge for my aggro Shaman builds. But again, losing that long-term damage means you have to make it up. Or I'm sorry, losing that burst damage means you have to make up for it somewhere, which is usually going to mean long-term damage.
Yep, and especially now that there's another source of removing overload, these overload-based builds can definitely work.
So we'll get a glimpse of where Talion wants to go this turn.
Yeah, I wonder. Well, he
So
wonders
does Gravish.
too.
Or Garrosh.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I wonder what the chances are that Talion would go pretty hard on patrons this game and fall to just an Elemental Destruction. But yeah, I like the fact that he's going a little slower, gaining some card advantage when he can, and not getting too greedy for that patron in a rage.
I like the Acolyte here as well. I think the Armor Smith is often set up to be trading the following turn. I gasped a little when he drew that Tunnel Trog. I was like, is it good? No, not this turn.
Yeah, maybe just
a tough turn for Neobility. I mean, none of his plays look very appealing right now.
Yeah, Lightning Bolt does deal with the Acolyte more efficiently than the rest of your cards. Nothing else really looks great. I mean, Argent Horse Rider is going to give Acolyte 2 draws, which just kind of sucks. Tunnel Trog's going to give it draws, which sucks. Tunnel Trog dies to the Armor Smith,
which sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at just Totem Bolt. Hope you get that 1/1 totem, dude.
Yeah, I mean, it'd look really, the 1/1 totem, a lot of times in Acolyte, it's a liability, but given the Lightning Bolt, it sets up trade to the Armor Smith.
Yeah.
You can tell Neobility is going to struggle with this whole turn. When all of your options are bad, you have to really dig deep and figure out how the game's going to pan out to figure out the best bad plays that you have available.
Huh. So he's going to do that play, but he's also going to make the room for the Eternal Sentinel. I'm a little surprised because, Elemental Destruction Eternal Sentinel is so good. But I guess if you do get that Elemental Destruction off, you're pretty happy regardless.
In this particular matchup, yes.
Yeah.
Finley, not a bad one.
Yeah, armor isn't that big of a deal the way this game is going. He's at a very healthy life total. It's pretty clear Neobility's not looking to burn him out, more looking to grind him out, especially if he knew his hand context. And I feel like a big reason Neobility did go for that extra Eternal Sentinel is he's trying to get value out of this Flame Tongue totem. Next turn, Flame Tongue, Argent Horse Rider, and hopefully his totem's not going to die. Hopefully the 3/2 kind of soaks the pressure.
Calculating all the differences in the Finleys, I'm sure.
Just running the Finley math.
I feel like Acolyte armor up, setting up for that Ravaging Ghoul execute next turn, perhaps. I mean, does need to think about Flame Wreath Faceless, does need to think about...
Yeah, and this is pretty... I think this is a pretty obvious turn. Just go for the Flame Tongue, make sure that Acolyte doesn't get extra draws.
Yeah, I mean, this is clearly what he was setting up for.
Yes. Exact mana to do it. And the fact that he played the Eternal Sentinel is going to make so the Armor Smith is gone and a 0-2 stuck around to get value.
Ravaging Ghoul still looking pretty good here. Fiery War Axe to boot. And Blood to Ichor. I mean, he could clear this board, make 5 power, and have a Fire Axe on board.
Yeah. Don't know how important using the Blood to Ichor is right now. Of course, it is just a 0-2 totem, but yep, just going to go for the most powerful play available.
I like it. You know me. Power play all the way.
Play all your mana, clear all the things.
Just make that's admirable power play.
Do the thing.
Lava Burst, not a welcome sight.
Yep, getting into awkward turns here where you can't clear. You don't really want to play minions. Your hero power's not doing much. Doomhammer obviously would be a card that would give him tremendous value.
It's a bit more card draw. I mean, something to swing this board, you know? Like, I'm thinking Fire Elemental.
I don't think that's in the stack.
I don't think it's in his deck either. I mean,
we've actually seen so far, even in mid-range Shaman, people cutting Fire Elemental because it's hard to fit in with all the overload, and it's also just slow even when you aren't overloaded.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy how far we've come that's, you know, being passed up in almost every build.
Rather the successful ones that we've seen so far.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the ones that we've seen with the most success actually have not included Fire Elemental.
Yes.
And that's really the touch point.
We haven't seen a Fire Elemental like this weekend.
Yeah. So Grom unavailable this turn, and no real way to use the patrons. So, yeah, I mean, I like the Finley here. Life Tap will very much break this game open. I mean, even a steady shot looks pretty good right now, but Fire Blast will help activate executes and propagate that
Fire
patron.
Blast is
you can
insane.
see why it's so good in this matchup. All 4 cards in Talion's hand interact with Fire Blast.
That's incredible.
Use the Sergeant.
And I think Talion has set up a spot where this 6 power is enough to just chip him down.
It definitely is. I mean, repetitive damage is, it's one of the reasons that a lot of the aggro builds are so good. It doesn't really matter what your threats are. If your opponent can't contest them cleanly, they will kill them. You know, kind of just like armoring up every turn with Neobility on the totems.
Yeah.
Just biding his time.
Just tank up. Totem up.
What if Justicar summoned 2 totems instead of a totem of your choice? Do you think it'd be better?
I don't know. Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably
They're
still
just
want to play it.
It should make
They're just
0. It should
totems.
make 0/4 totems.
Nah, I kind of like how it is.
Just D2 him every turn.
Yeah.
Always taunt totem.
You get to,
He had a Justicar versus you and the main stage in 2014. Back. Yeah, just looking like Grom and punch for 4.
He might not even iterate.
Get him, Grom.
It is threatening the...
It's like Skycap and Crag right now.
It really
That
is.
guy's great. I mean, this has got to be elemental destruction at this point. Like, this is, the damage is starting to pile up.
Ooh, unlucky.
Is it? I don't think it mattered that much. Now, I will say this. When you overload for 8, it's usually pretty bad, but Neobility's only got 2 mana worth of cards left to cast.
He was totem passing before this turn. It doesn't matter.
Still not entirely out of the water, I imagine.
What if he's got 2 elemental destruction?
That's what I'm thinking about too. Yeah, probably Berserker. I like it more than the Patron right now. You know, don't necessarily need to use an Execute to clear the Totem Golem, but certainly appealing, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, I really want to get those executes out of the hand, I think.
Yeah, Fiery War Axe gonna clean up the Tunnel Trog as well. Leave behind a 4/4 Prowling Berserker and the 2 mana from Neobility. You know, the other story here is just the card advantage
Totem
Talion
up.
is built up. Totem go. I mean, these are priest turns we're rolling into now.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
do nothing and pass. Slam has got to be a welcome sight.
Yeah. Kind of like just
3-1 patrons are looking pretty good right now.
Patron, slam, ping a patron, go.
Now that being said, Talion just saw Elemental Destruction, so is he ever considering the possibility of a second one and what that means for his hand?
Well, more so than a second one, even if it's in the deck. You're just considering
Black Knight
what
value!
if all you leave up is just a frothing, you're just weak to kill your frothing go. You're gonna have to make patrons eventually. Might as well make them now, especially when it buffs a patron or buffs a frothing.
So can kill the 2 healthy patrons, but that leaves behind a big frothing berserker.
Tank up.
Yeah, it's not enough. I mean,
And not with Black Knight.
Talion gonna win game number 2 very convincingly. We've seen both patron builds perform so well for both of these players. It's gonna be Shaman Warlock for Neobility versus Shaman and Mage for Talion. I mean, what performances. These guys have been playing such a tight game. I mean, there's been nothing, I think, that can be considered an error so far.
Yeah.
Just playing perfect.
I mean, nobody said that was an error.
Yeah.
We would have known.
Just good play all around. You can see why these are 2 of the top players in the point standings for the Americas. And honestly, when I look at this matchup, I still feel like the Mage is going to make the big difference here. I know that Mage hasn't been performing very well versus Shaman.
Yeah.
But this is a much slower build of Shaman.
I mean, Elemental Destruction's not doing anything.
It is
Freeze
0
Mage.
in that one. And Lava Shock sort of in the same regard. It
Sure.
just doesn't really contest anything. So if Neobility can't manage to get on board and start pressing some damage, the Mage is going to have all the time in the
still
world.
in there.
It still is. But Forgotten Torch and Frostbolt, you know, both of those very popular choices in Freeze Mage right now. Obviously the Frostbolt, but the Forgotten Torch has sort of been
Very popular right now. Yeah, those Frostbolt's been cycling
meant
in and out of Freeze Mage. Sometimes you just got to cut the freezes from
Look.
Freeze Mage.
You're going to want that extra card draw, okay? Those
Okay.
Kabbalist Tomes, they'll get you the Frostbolts you need.
Just get 3 of them.
Scam us!
Well,
There's a bug right now. If you cut Frostbolt from your build, Kabbalist Tome gives you 3 Frostbolts. That's not true, but let's pretend it is for the sake of this joke, so it can continue to linger on awkwardly. As we roll into game number 3, Freeze Mage versus Shaman. I'll tell you what, Flame Wreath Faceless is a way to get on board very quick and start punching.
yeah. I'd tell you what, Doomsayer's pretty good.
After clicking through his hand
Yeah.
very randomly.
Yeah.
With the load card left. That card's so good.
What if he was just RNGing it? He's just like, yeah, I don't know what I'm supposed to keep. I guess I'll keep Doomsayer.
Random.org. Oh, number 2, sweet. That's the one I wanted to keep.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to keep Ice Block too, but whatever you say.
The yes or the no. It's funny how little Doomsayer was played in the old Hearthstone metagame. Like, I'm talking like back to the basic classic set only.
Yeah.
And how much it's played now that Standard is rotated. 3-mana Owl is a big impact. And just as you mentioned, Tunnel Trog still in the builds, as well as a Totem Golem.
He's pretty close to being able to kill it, but pretty close, just not counting Hearthstone.
Yeah, not even close. Well, I got him down to 4. Yeah, just 1 damage.
He's winning now.
How's your Tunnel Trog feel now? Oh, he just gave up. There's no Frost Giant in his build.
Well, he's playing around Dragon's Breath.
Yeah. A fantastic card, as we all know. One of the best cards from Blackrock Mountain.
I just in case there's any new viewers, that card sucks.
I really thought it was going to be good. I really did.
Like, so much so that I feel the need to make sure you guys at home don't try that card out.
Yeah, I'm going to save you and everybody else out there a bunch of time. I played with this card for like 3 months. Don't do it. Just don't.
You had financial incentive to make that card work.
I couldn't. It was impossible. It's the worst card in the set.
It's the worst card in the game.
The game!
I'll say it.
It's worse than Magma Rager.
Yeah, I could win a tournament with Magma Rager.
I don't think you could.
Well, here we go.
Gentleman's dollar.
I don't think I can win a tournament alone.
How do those second places feel now, Jockey?
Scam-Oz. Well, I feel like this is a solid turn to get a free secret development, but then you're rolling straight into Flame Wreath Faceless, and I mean, it's pretty telegraphed when your opponent goes Totem on 2, or Totem on 3, rolling straight into a turn where they specifically don't want to overload. So I think Talion's thinking, do I need a Doomsayer?
I'm playing the secret.
Yeah, I mean, it's so perfect this turn.
Yeah, the thing about Freeze Mage is the turn 3 now very often became secret.
It's just Mirror Entity.
It very often became secret on turn 3 because of the loss of Mad Scientist. You know, there's no manipulation left for the Death Rattle of that effect, being able to fetch which one you want depending on if you play a secret or not. And you have to get them down eventually. Like, these are part of the ways you extend the game.
We hunger for vengeance.
I'm just gonna play a Blood Mage and ping. I'm trying to work on that. Honestly, it is threatened next turn if Neobility doesn't answer the Blood Mage.
Well, Doomhammer is a crazy good card against Freeze Mage.
Yeah, I mean, it just deals 16 damage.
Yeah.
Takes 4 turns.
Frost Nova would be pretty good here.
It would be the best draw in his deck.
Pretty good.
Yeah. Order, not so much. But can clear up this Flame Wreath Faceless. Forgot Torch, attack, and ping. It's a lot to invest, though. So Fireball would also clear it up. So an Ice Lance, you know, maybe the Doomsayer gets through if you do that. But suddenly, slim pickings.
Yeah, I mean, this is why we've seen Mage have a 20% win rate against Shaman in this tournament.
Yeah. I mean, there's very few answers to that card. I mean, it's like Fireball or bust. And even the Fireball
doesn't kill it.
It takes a turn, right? So you're
Takes
still
2
taking
turns.
7 damage off of it. That's what I mean. It takes the turn after the Fireball to ping it off. Unless you have 6 mana, of course. But
Well, it costs 4. That's why it's so powerful.
you might look at this card and be like, this is a 6 mana card. Be like, no, it's 4 now and 2 later.
And that's important.
We learned this from that guy who says, I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. Don't give that guy a hamburger. He's not paying you on Tuesday.
Blizzard gave Flame Wreath Faceless a few hamburgers.
Guy's jacked. How many benches? Like 780 pounds.
I don't know about that.
It's a 7-7, man. That's bigger than a volcanic Drake.
I mean, like 7 Wisp could take that guy.
Well, they have like the magical, you know when they all implode or whatever?
Okay, 7 Murloc Tiny Fins could take that guy.
Guy's got a sword. Just saying.
He's got a sword, like 7 little runts with swords just beat you up.
By 1,000 cuts.
That guy can't bitch.
Never underestimate overwhelming stupidity and overwhelming numbers, Jockey.
I mean,
There's no answer here for Talion. He needed a Frost Nova last turn, I think.
yep. It's going to be a slow.
Yikes, that's a lot of burn to use.
Yeah.
Another big problem with this is that Talion's also just drawn 4 secrets.
Honestly, though, if you just kind of look at what's going on, if he gets to turn 9 with a block up and just Alex's, he's got a decent shot at winning if he just rips burn. He just needs like Fireball Pyro. Now he needs to live until then, so he's going to need to pick up more to survive because that's a lot of burn in Neobility's hand. So for Neo, he's looking to pop the block on 8. That is very important for him. And I think he's going to be able to do it.
What if I told you Shaman was best class?
The best?
Yeah. It's looking like it right now.
What if I told you this was Shaman's best matchup by far of the classes left? and that Patron Warrior is apparently the best.
58% overall.
Shaman 54, pretty close.
Yep.
Well,
What to do?
it's looking real bad.
Yeah. Forgot. I mean, Roaring Torch was just not.
There's no way you can burn him out from 28.
No.
And there's no way he can draw into something that saves him.
Now we did see earlier with Mage versus the Rogue matchup, able to kill kind of every single minion that was played and grind out the game. So a defensive Alex could maybe buy him some more time here. But Neobility's going to have a second copy of Doomhammer.
He's popping this turn.
You know he's got Lava Bursts. You know he's got Flame Wreath Faceless. I mean, you've got your work cut out for you if you want to burn this one out.
And what if this was Spellbender? That would have been sick.
It's got to target a minion.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been
Just
awful.
counter spell. Wait, what? It's just misdirection. Is that even possible? Yeah, just load up the board. Neobility didn't see a Blizzard, and on turn 8 you can't Blizzard and Ice Block. So this is pretty much Ice Block to buy a turn. Hope you can find something to clean this board up. Go from there, but I mean, there's no anti-Keel bot. Unless he's running a Cult Apothecary, there's no other way other than Alex to gain any life.
Yeah, the only chance for him was if he drew Frost Nova, Doomsayer, Frost Nova, Ice Block. You hopefully clear the board, get your second block popped, and then you Alex yourself, like you said.
Yep.
But that window is coming past, and Neobility is going to take a lead in this series 2-1. Not quite yet, I guess.
Yeah. We'll have to go through a few extra turns here, but I mean, are there any dead draws in Neobility's deck right now? That one's kind of dead.
Yeah, but
yeah, he's just picking cards off of him at this point. He's got an attack for 2, kill the card.
yeah. I guess you could always just, you know, rip Yogg-Saron and cast it and kill himself.
19 damage available this turn. Neobility will take the lead in this series, 2-1. He's got Warlock left to work with. Shaman and Mage for Talion. Now, we haven't seen Neobility's Warlock deck just yet, I don't believe.
He would strike me as Zoo.
Yeah, I mean, what we've seen so far, he's just brought powerful builds.
If anything, I'm interested in like how he built it rather than what kind of deck it is.
Yeah, would be very surprised to see Reno Warlock from him at this point.
I don't think I've ever heard of him playing Reno.
Yeah, he doesn't strike me as a Reno player. You just kind of look at him.
You just kind of look at, no, I'm talking about what I've seen him
Reno,
play.
man. Now, I'm talking about the reads, the hard reads. Neobility's not a Reno
We actually
player.
do this. Like, we'll be playing ladder. We'll look at our opponent's names and try and guess what they are.
I'm usually right.
Like 50% of the time or so.
It's about that much.
I mean, it helps when like everyone plays Zoo anyway. We're probably like 90% to get this correct.
And I'm still 50% despite that.
Unlucky.
Maybe the names are clouding my judgment. We'll find out what they want to queue up in this 4th game here. I'll tell you what, the 2-1 lead here feels much more massive than in the last series for some reason.
Think so?
Yeah, it just feels that way. I mean, Neobility has, he's been playing perfect Hearthstone.
Yeah, the odds that Warlock can take a win off Mage or Shaman is pretty good.
Asked for it.
So it is going to be Zoo. And as Chalky said, I am curious how this is built. Maybe a tech choice or two, but this has traditionally been a very good matchup for Freeze Mage. Now, with the loss of Mad Scientist, you're not contesting quite as much of the board early on. So Frost Nova Doomsayer becomes much more important, and more importantly, just Doomsayer in general becomes more important in this matchup. So look for Talion to clear the board basically as often as he can, use Forgotten Torches to help clean up what's available, draw the cards when he can in the small windows of opportunity, and once stabilized, hunt for the kill afterwards. But until then, he's got to keep control of the board.
Yeah, definitely what you said. The Zoo Warlock, it's a lot weaker to those board clears now. No eggs, no owl, and also no Loatheb.
Yeah.
To kind of lock out spells. There's no swing turn. I mean, Freeze Mage is almost just playing solitaire here. And it's up to the Zoo to just pile on pressure. I mean, there's not much more to say about it. They're just going to be trying to play their most powerful minions every turn. Yep, like, here's a spot where you could say like, oh, well, you could try and bait the Frostbolt with just Peddler first. Nope, we want power.
Yep.
You push as much damage as possible. Yeah.
It's a pretty good one.
And no counterplay to this. Used to be able to go Nerubian Egg, pop a 4/4.
Yep. No longer available, so it's 2 damage, life tap, and pass.
And again, kind of just like last game, but obviously a much better matchup. Gives them a free turn to develop Ice Block, or get a minion on the board, challenge what's going to come out.
I like the Blood Mage here because in the face of Imp Boss, the Frostbolt's looking pretty good here.
Yeah.
This also will help you dig into your deck. Your turn 5 is looking a little bit weak right now, so that would be a turn to set Ice Block. And if the hand is right, drop the Emperor. I mean, in this matchup, getting a 5/5 on board just to press damage is important.
Yep. But I mean, for Freeze Mage in this new format against Zoo, if you get to that Alex Raza turn, you Alex them, and you have 15 points of burn and an Ice Block up, there's basically only Divine Intervention's going to stop that.
Yep. That's a Paladin card for you.
Eventually.
Yeah.
It just saves you from the game.
It's just an Ice Block for
It's
one
just
mana.
like, nope, game's void.
I'd like to see Bubble Hearth as a secret. When you take fatal damage, prevent it, and instead concede the game.
The best part is people would play that. It's like Secret Paladin with Bubble Hearth. Yeah, I don't want my opponent to have the satisfaction.
It takes away a win from their 500 wins to the Golden Glass Quest.
Pretty important juggles.
Yep.
Hits it.
2 Ice Lances. I'll tell you what, Talion's draws afterwards have not been the best, but Acolyte, a very welcome draw at this point.
I'm a little surprised to see him ping his own Acolyte, though. I mean, I guess you can...
Just trying to dig for the Emperor right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess the 1 power on the icky tentacle, not going to be enough to worry about.
He's got Blizzard in hand too, so all the power that's added to board will eventually get swept up.
Yeah.
For Neobility, this is just part of the puzzle.
think
How
I
do you
like,
deal the most damage?
Well, I think I like Brand Abusive. That is the most damage, and it sets up for a double Gormok. He could also just double Discover.
Yeah, card economy been very important in Neobility in this series.
This is technically damage because on average you're going to be getting PO and Soulfire a lot. These cards are very mediocre, especially because Freeze Mage is going to be pulling Alex Straza off the joust so often.
Even gonna take the Mortal Coil here. I imagine the sights are set on potentially even one of his own minions.
You know what's kind of interesting is the joust gives you a little bit of info. If you pull Alex Straza, you know they don't have that. Pull a Doomsayer, you know they don't have the other one of those.
Yep. So Emperor, Blizzard, or even just Clear with some of the spells in your hand. I feel like Talion's had a lot of tough turns in the last two games.
It's right now 20 damage in hand, and he can reduce it all by 1. So getting very close. Going to go ahead and do that. Don't blame him. Neobility kind of. Is this how much damage for
2, 3,
a
4, 5, 6, 7,
16,
8, 16,
20? He's
20.
1 off.
Wow. Wait, is he?
I think
No,
so.
that's lethal.
Is
the
it?
Abusive Sergeant's 4. Wow, Neobility with that brand gets some major buffs going. Yeah, that's lethal.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Neobility sticks brand to the table and gets a turn 6 win with his Zoo